Hello everyone, welcome to Codable Show and Tell. This is a first of a series that we will be running where we will be speaking with some awesome educators who are using Codable in their classrooms. These educators might be using Codable in different or interesting ways. Maybe they are grappling with a problem that many other teachers are dealing with, or they are just looking for an opportunity to share their students' success. So we are really excited to welcome Samantha Selikoff as our first Spotlight teacher. Hi, Samantha. Samantha is a technology and STEM teacher at the Rockaway Borough School District in New Jersey. She teaches 4th through 8th grade students, so a wide range of students there. And she creates and teaches STEM lessons about the engineering design process, architecture, and coding, and also leads some PD with other teachers about how to use technology in their classroom. So we're so excited for Samantha to join us. So my name is Hannah. I am the instructional coach at Codable. My role is to support teachers who are living in this world of elementary computer science education. So we're going to jump into it. So Samantha, again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We first met you on Twitter when you shared a project that your students had participated in over spring break. So I'd love if you could start by just sharing what those project guidelines were and kind of what was the outcome of that spring break project with Codable.
Okay, so I wanted to hear about all my students' adventures over spring break, and I kind of wanted to hear about it in a meaningful way. So a lot of times they're excited to tell you about their adventures, as they should be. So sometimes it'll turn into some long stories. So I wanted to make it a meaningful conversation. So they were able to take a picture with a fuzz that they decorated, and then share it with me. And that way I could also share it with the class. So I got to learn about what they did. I said that it could be something small that they did, or something, or a trip that they went on. So one shared with me, the first one I thought was the student and their siblings going to a park. So the was they're participating with them and going to the park with them. Another one I got, a student was going to Hershey. Another one, students were touring New York City. So I got a series of pictures, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. So they got to create stories that the fuzz went on the adventure with. They named their fuzz, and it became a part of them. Okay, so we're good now.
Perfect.
That's it for announcements, I think.
Awesome. Well, did any of the projects that the students submitted for that spring break project surprise you? Did any of the students do something that you didn't really expect them to do with their fuzz?
Didn't really expect. I think I was excited to see how a lot of students got creative with it, and see all the different adventures. There weren't any that I was really surprised with, I guess, but I was just excited to see them all. So one that I was really interested in was the tour of New York City, because it was a series of pictures. So it kind of like outlined the day. We're getting into filmmaking next year with storyboarding. So we did a little bit of storyboarding with comics this year. So I might introduce that. So create a story for your fuzz next year or something like that. A series of pictures outline your day with the fuzz, and the fuzz would be going through that day with you.
Awesome. And what do you think the students learned from this project? What did they gain?
It was great to see the family time that they went through, or that they got to participate in. It was probably happening anyway, but to share out in a meaningful way. So they worked on their 4Cs. So that one in particular was communication. So just communicating a memory from spring break was one of the things that they got to participate in. So one of the things that they learned was creating a concise message, or a clear way to express themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned the 4 Cs. So you mentioned one of them. I'd love if you could speak a little bit more to the 4 Cs. Like, how do you incorporate the 4 Cs? First of all, what are they, and how do you incorporate them when you are designing curriculum and teaching coding?
So a lot of my curriculum is based off the 4 C's as well as the engineering design process. So the engineering design process is ask, imagine, plan, create, improve, and communicate. And then the 4 C's are critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were designing our fuzz, we talked a lot about creativity. They collaborated with each other to kind of come up with an idea for their fuzz. Critical thinking they use all the time with Codable because of the different strategies that they need to solve the puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Then communication, just communicating out their message. So that was one of the things that focused on with creating a fuzz and creating memory with your fuzz.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So speaking of creativity, I think that a lot of feedback we hear from teachers is they kind of grapple with that balance between creativity and teaching specific concepts and like how to do both. What do you look for when you are identifying creativity in a computer science classroom? So in other words, how do you know if your students are being creative?
So creativity is a really interesting concept because it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people and how to express themselves creatively. So one of the things I do is journaling, which a lot of teachers do. So as an exit slip, sometimes they will journal out their ideas. So just how are they creative in computer science, you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
So in Codable, when they're creating their fuzz on the computer, I displayed some of them for what we do here of Night of the Arts. So I displayed some of their mazes and their fuzz creations. So not only did they get to create fuzzes on paper through their fuzz adventures, but then they also got to create them on the computer. So that's one way that they're expressing themselves creatively, but creativity also has to do with problem solving. So just going through the different puzzles, they're also creative in that sense.
Absolutely. Speaking of problem solving, you mentioned that engineering design process where problem solving is such a huge part of it. How do you create opportunities for like authentic problem solving in a computer science classroom? So you mentioned it with the codable puzzles. I'm curious if you could share with the other teachers who might be listening what problem solving opportunities are you giving your students?
I relate things back to the real world a lot of times. So a lot of times I pull in different kind of events. I highlight people who have solved problems in the world. Outside in my classroom, I have a STEM in the news poster. So that has different problems that they have solved. Other problem solving techniques, just different games and strategies. So sometimes logic puzzles or there's that aspect of it. I do a lot of unplugged activities as well. So I do a lot of pulling from Codable and then also just that I have created in terms of problem solving techniques.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you could share an example of an unplugged activity that you have used in your classroom in tandem with Codable. So what kind of unplugged activities do you like to do?
A lot of the unplugged activities I do have to relate to sports, or one of the infamous ones is I found on a code.org's website where a lot of other people have also done variations of it, where you're creating an aluminum foil boat and then you're seeing how many marbles it can hold, similar to the paper house, how many books can the paper house hold. So a lot of those different design challenges.
Yeah. That's great. So you've spoken to the 4 C's and a lot about creativity, and it sounds like there's also a lot of opportunities for students to personalize their own projects as they decorate their fuzz. I'm wondering if you could speak more to that role of personalization and like student-driven learning in computer science. Where else do you see your students expressing their personal selves in your computer science classroom?
Well, being able to create their own fuzz, and also being able to manage their difficulty level on Codable as well. So if they get frustrated too many times, I have an I help poster in my classroom. So just reminders of where they can go if they're confused. So different techniques are welcome to come to me. But then also the buzz, right? That with a hint is really helpful for them. So it keeps them in their zone of proximal development and doesn't allow them to get too frustrated. And it's nice to see when they do finally solve a level, the excitement that they get. So
Yeah. Speaking of that I help poster, so what are the steps that you recommend to your students when they encounter a problem? How do they go about solving it?
I usually have them show me which steps that they had. So I go through it with them. I see if a student has gone through it with them. So to use their student pairings as well. And then we'll help solve them together. Kind of like how elementary schools have the reading groups or the math groups. This is just computer science groups.
Yeah. I think a lot of teachers, including myself, would be pretty taken aback that you teach fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade coding. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of developing coding curriculum for that wide of an age range? Do you find it challenging? And if so, what do you do about that?
Well, I use a lot of different resources and I reach out to different community members and other educators in my community. And I do get a lot of great ideas from different platforms such as Twitter and Codable and code.org. And I do attend a lot of different professional developments as well in order to keep atop of different strategies to help my students and new technology that's coming on the rise too.
Yeah. Do you ever experience multiple students in one class who are at different levels in their learning, and
All the time.
how do you approach that?
Um, so I have an expert board that once a student masters either concept in coding, so when students are creating their apps, if one student has mastered coding a button or coding a screen, their name goes up on the expert board. So then students can ask them questions about that and look to them as helpers too. So just having other students act as experts on the subject helps me manage that.
Mm-hmm. Do you see students moving at different paces when they're in Codable, or how do you regulate like how quickly the students are moving through the levels based on what they are ready for?
I allow students to go at the levels on their own pace if they'd like. So a lot of students do enjoy doing Codable at home.
Mm-hmm.
So they do come in at all different paces, which I'm okay with, because then it creates more experts within the classroom.
Yeah. I love that. When you and I first spoke, you mentioned your students were really engaged with the maze maker. Can you share a little bit more about the types of mazes that they've created, or how do you present the maze maker to your students?
A lot of the students, they've created mazes within Codable, and they try to have other students solve their maze as well as me. So that way I can't solve it. So sometimes they create some challenging ones. So they get really excited about that. They also have their parents try to solve them.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a family thing, which is fun. Some of them have created different words in it. So like their name or a friend's name. So they do enjoy that part of Codable.
Yeah, that's great. And then my last couple of questions are just about your students' experience with Codable and if they enjoy it. So my question is, if students take away one thing from their experience with Codable, what do you hope that would be?
I hope that they would take away persistence, because a lot of times it takes them more than one try, especially as they go through the platform to solve the puzzle. So so I would say persistence is definitely one of them. And the problem solving skills.
Mm-hmm. Building off of that persistence piece, because I think that is something that a lot of teachers are really interested in fostering right now for their students, especially with all the about 21st century skills. What other ways do you foster persistence in your classroom? You mentioned with Codable, and I'm curious if you have other tips for teachers who are trying to encourage that skill with their students.
Definitely through design challenges and Codable. And just working through different problems, logic problems, sometimes do nows that kind of stimulate that sense of logics or problem solving skills. So just different techniques within the classroom.
Yeah. You mentioned the boat building with the aluminum foil. Could you mention a couple other design challenges that might be fun or interesting for teachers to try?
So there's also something similar to that with the paper house. You got to build a paper house, and then you got to have the books. You see how many books it can hold. I've done those. I've also done the marble maze. I've done a lot of traditional ones, but then I've done some other out of the box ones having to do with sports. Lounge a curriculum also has a good one with creating a wallet, or the ones that have to do with entrepreneur, such as creating their own sport. So there's a ton of different design challenges out there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of low cost ones as well.
Sure, absolutely. That's important. How would you explain or describe the connection between these design challenges that are really hands-on and then on-screen coding and computer science? Where do you see the connection there?
So Codable brings a gamification aspect to computer science, which is great. So they are progressing to the next level. Or the students are progressing to the next level, but then they also need movement. So the unplugged activities bring that sense of movement and interactive components to computer science.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps the intention there.
Yeah, definitely. What would be a recommendation that you would give to a teacher who might be hesitant about using Codable for the first time, or even diving into the world of computer science education at all? What's a recommendation that you might give a hesitant teacher?
I think that one recommendation that I would give to teachers would be to not necessarily hold back. You'll learn a lot of things, not only from the webinars and exploring the curriculum, but through other teachers, Twitter, and then also your students as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really just kind of diving into it, giving it a try. What do you do if a student asks you a question that you don't know the answer to? Or does that happen? And if so?
So a lot of times either another student might have solved those puzzles, or there's also teacher mode, so you can kind of figure out how to solve them through your account. And then I reached out to Codable and you guys as well, if there's either a glitch in the system or for a tip on solving a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So FuzzBuzz helps too.
Yes, absolutely. What are your plans? So we're in summer vacation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are your plans moving forward with next year in Codable or coding education in general? Do you have any plans that you are looking forward to?
So we're all set up for Codable for next year. So we will be using Codable. I would love to do some more interactive things with Codable Fuzz. So, or Unplugged Wise, like the Fuzz Adventures for spring break. So I want to do a component of kind of like a class pet, but a book form. So definitely with fourth grade, where they take the Fuzz book home, they write something about what they did with the family, and then they bring it back and then switching it to another student. So that's definitely something that I want to do for next year. So more bringing the family component or the home life component into the classroom.
Yeah, and you mentioned that a lot of students are enjoying Codable outside of school.
Yeah.
How did you introduce Codable to the parents outside of school, or did the students bring Codable home?
So a letter went home with Codable Fuzz when they were decorating it originally about their spring break. And then I also allowed the students, and told the students about the Codable Summer Challenge as well. So they have the opportunity to do that. So those are two different sides that families have seen Codable, and then they've also seen Codable. We had like a display at Night of the Arts of what they've been doing with coding in Codable.
Oh, wow. Can you say what did that display look like? Tell us a little bit more about
So
it.
it had some of the mazes that students coded. It had some of the fuzzes that students made. Had some of the virtual fuzzes that students made. We had a whole bulletin board of the different fuzzes that students created. And parents and students said guess about how many lines of coding all of the students combined. So it had a lot of different components of coding and computer science.
Yeah. That's great. I'd love to know if we have teachers who reach out to us that are interested in learning more about the work that you're doing, or if they have questions about incorporating, you mentioned sports and architecture, the engineering design process. Would you be open to connecting with some other teachers if they do have further questions?
Sure, they could always reach out to me on Twitter, and they can also check out the things that I'm doing on there as well if they're interested.
Yeah. Well, that's how we got in touch with you. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that other teachers would love to see the pictures that you post from your classroom. But Samantha, thank you so much for joining us. It was really great to talk to you. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in learning more about blended learning with Codable, or you are interested in sharing ways that you have used Codable in your classroom, please reach out to me. My email is hannah@codable.com. I am also running free training and onboarding sessions this summer, so if you are interested in getting a walkthrough of the teacher dashboard or getting any of your Codable questions answered, I'm happy to help. Please reach out. Thank you so much for watching.